It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a fantastic Friday. Final hour of the Jesse Kelly Show on a Friday. I'm going to step away from the questions for a brief moment because there is a story that came out earlier today, and I desperately do not want to get my hopes up. It is one of those things, so much of the fate of the nation rests on it. I don't want to oversell it. I almost didn't even bring it up on the show because it's Friday. But the Supreme Court, this is a few hours ago, the Supreme Court came out and they said, we're going to review the idea of birthright citizenship. This is something the Trump administration is hot on. Just in case you don't know what that is, the 14th Amendment of the United States of America was put into place so freed slaves could be considered full U.S. citizens, not half citizens or any of that ridiculousness. They're Americans. They're freed slaves. That's why it was put into place. And this is something that anyone with two brain cells knows that's why it was put into place. Because our judicial system is so evil and hostile to this country, they determined a long time ago that the 14th Amendment actually means that anybody born here under any circumstances for any reason is a United States citizen. This has been nothing short of catastrophic for the United States of America. It's not only the anchor babies who come over here, these super pregnant women will find anything to skip across the border, get into an American emergency room and have her baby. No, she's not a citizen, but that baby is. It's not just that. Visa holders, people whose visas have expired, all these people, they have kids. Boom, American citizens. And they'll have a lot of them. Then their kids. Boom, American citizens. It essentially grows the foreigner population of this country exponentially every single year because they're all American citizens. It is the most nationally suicidal policy I've ever heard in my entire life. This is the reason we have people like this in Congress.
The democracy that we have, how can you help us, be a better country and build back what we used to have back in long time ago? So hopefully we will be able to help our country, our former country, Somalia.
She's a citizen. All the children she has will be citizens. Their children after them and their children after them. Birthright citizenship. The Supreme Court decided today they are going to take up this case. I'm very nervous because however they decide, it's the Supreme Court. That's probably going to be it for a very, very, very long time. Maybe one day you get the Supreme Court to take it up again. But remember, Roe versus Wade was a ridiculous decision. What was that, 50 years before we got any Supreme Court to take it up again and overturn it? If they decide the wrong way, it will be disastrous for this country. If they decide the right way, it will be wonderful for this country. I'm going to go ahead and say this now, and we're going to move on and get back to the questions. We've had the talk many times before. In fact, we just had it last night, that the mass importation of foreigners, it's not a side issue for communists. It is their everything. With the mass importation of foreigners, they cannot possibly lose. They will eventually outnumber us. Without it, they cannot possibly win because everyone hates them and their disgusting policies. You are going to see more communist activism leading up to this decision than you have ever seen in your entire life. And I'll go ahead and lay this one out there right now. The security provided to the United States Supreme Court justices, certainly the ones on the right, leading up to this decision, better be the finest security on the planet. Because if you think the communists will hesitate for a single second to murder one or more Supreme Court justice in order to keep their foreigners in this country, you are nuts. They will kill every Supreme Court justice without hesitation if it means protecting the revolution. Our Supreme Court justices and their families, they had better be protected, and I mean with some ironclad security. They should all, right now, consider their lives in mortal danger. And the thing is, it's not just the street animals who want to keep all the foreigners in this country. This is part of what makes it so dangerous. Extremely wealthy, extremely powerful people, communists, not just in America, around the globe. They want all these foreigners in the United States of America replacing you. These are people with means. Something to think about. Hey, speaking of which, hey, Jesse, when it comes to people fleeing their dirtbag countries, whether they are here or want to come here, a requisite for entry should be, what did you do to try to change your country that sucks, and have you been outspoken about your beliefs in Americanism? Well, you're right, but we don't even consider that at all. We just hand out this and hand out that and hand out this and hand out that. And we don't ever consider, for some reason, the United States of America, our populace has been dumbed down and weakened to the point where just telling you about someone's terrible circumstances is enough to justify them coming here. Okay, so I want you to picture there's a house, right? There's a house. There are 10 people in the house, all right? It's a crack house. They make crack there. They deal crack out of the house. They do crack in the house. Now, let's say the house catches on fire. Well, yeah, every crackhead in the house wants to leave the house. That's totally understandable. In fact, I don't want to see any crackhead burned to death. I want them to clean up their lives and be saved one day. So I hope they flee the house. That doesn't mean you can come to my house. I'm sorry your house burnt down. That does not mean you are going to be welcome in mine, but that's how the United States of America has operated its immigration policy for decades. Oh, it's bad where you came from? Come here. Oh, it's bad where you came from? Come here. Oh, it's bad where you came from? Come here. Yeah? How's that working out for us?
Kelly Loeffler, who leads the Small Business Administration, says in the 2 days her agency has been investigating the state, they've uncovered at least $1 million in PPP fraud just 2 days in. Several of the whistleblowers in Minnesota have also told lawmakers they believe the total amount of fraud could total up to more than $8 billion.
Mm-hmm. I think Stephen Miller summed it up nicely. I'll let him have his say.
The Biden administration, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions, and to give them something known as parole, which gives them a work permit, which gives them a social security number, which gives them access to the voting booth. This was the plan all along, to get them here illegally so they can get free government benefits, get hooked to welfare, and be able to participate in American elections. This was an attack on democracy by the Democrat Party.
Democrats are evil. Oracle, what do you think about Sarah Adams' warning about an imminent large-scale terrorist attack in the USA and abroad? Any idea when it might happen? There's always one coming. Maybe it will be foiled. Maybe it won't be foiled. Maybe it'll be 5 minutes from now. Maybe it'll be 5 years from now. I know Sarah Adams, I mean, at least a little bit. I've interviewed her before, and she certainly has all kinds of in-depth knowledge about things and terrorist networks, so that's not in any way an insult to her, but I can always sit here and tell you there's going to be a terrorist attack. Always. I can tell you about it. But eventually I'll be right. That's the beauty of it. Eventually I'll be right. I can tell you right now that there's going to be, I live in Houston. You know what? I think there's a hurricane coming. We got a hurricane coming. There's going to be a hurricane coming. I can sit here every day and say that, and you know what the beauty of that is? One day I'll be right. Can't let that stuff govern your life, all right? Don't stress about that. Let's talk about allowing women in our private club, Afghanistan, and more. Next. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful Friday, an Ask Dr. Jesse Friday, reminding you you can email the show your questions still. We're not done yet. Jesse at jessekellyshow.com. Let's get to some more of them. Jesse, one of the things I'm thankful for this season is your show. It's been a bright spot in my weekday afternoons. I'm concerned that you're not allowing women in your secret lair. Pause real quick. It's not necessarily a secret lair. We will have a lair. It's a secret club. We do secret things. It's difficult to gain entry. What, Chris? What? The secret club doesn't always meet in the secret lair? Correct. The secret lair, it's kind of headquarters. Sometimes we're doing secret things in other secret places. It's not always the lair. I've already said too much. All right, I can't go into any more detail. Who will serve the drinks, this guy said. Remember, there's no women allowed in the secret club. I think I've found a solution. Eunuchs. Secret lairs are usually staffed by eunuch servants, aren't they? You could put the call out on the air, so on and so forth. His name is Eric. I find the use of eunuchs historically, not to be a total nerd here on what was a goofy question, which I enjoyed, by the way. I find the use of eunuchs historically to be so fascinating. So much of the time they were used in palaces, in royal families. You've heard me talk before about the Ottoman Empire, big Muslim empire that was very, very powerful for a very long time. And you've heard me discuss before the harem, and I understand the traditional meaning of a harem. And that is kind of what the royal family had in the Ottoman Empire. But the harem there was more than that. It was essentially a university system, a training ground. It was a lot of these things. And staffed not just by women, younger, attractive women, eunuchs as well. And it makes sense. You don't want to risk the men mixing together with the women of the harem and there being a problem, if you will. Don't get me wrong. I'm not pushing for the policy. Okay, I'm not championing it, but it's crazy how often that's a thing throughout history. In fact, that would be a fascinating. Maybe you're a student. Maybe you're just kind of a nerd like me. That would be a fascinating subject for you to maybe do a deep dive on the use of heretics. Notice I said you, because this is a family show, and I'm not exactly sure how I would massage that area in order to ensure that the kiddies could listen. But it is fascinating. It's a very common thing throughout history. I like your idea. If we need eunuchs, we'll call Republicans. Hey, Jesse, how can you be a communist and a Christian at the same time? Well, you can't. Remember that communism and Christianity have been at war since the Bolsheviks took over the Soviet Union, Russia. Immediately, they started burning the churches and slaughtering the priests. During the Spanish Civil War, when the communists took over, they burned the churches, slaughtered the priests, raped the nuns. It always goes this way. Remember all the evil things that were done in the Biden administration. Remember one of the things we found out. Never forget about this. The FBI has field offices all over the country. In their Richmond, that would be Richmond, Virginia, in their Richmond field office, a whistleblower came forward. It's the only reason we know this. A whistleblower came forward with a memo. The FBI was going into the churches, the Catholic Church in particular. Do you think that's an accident? Our communists are not different than other communists historically. Why is it that you have these air fingers quote pastors who are of course lesbians, or you have these pastors who stand up there and tell you that, well, I mean, we should welcome in all of Somalia. Well, because the communists understood that the American church was a bulwark against them. The American church was going to stop them, was stopping them. So not only do you have to go to war with it, you have to infiltrate it and sell to the masses that, unending Muslim immigration is what Jesus would want or something like that. Dear Jesse, I've read a handful of accounts from service members who did tours in Afghanistan. In short, horrifying experiences that reinforce the incompatibility of these people, he's talking about Afghans, with our culture and our country. How can our politicians ignore or rationalize these events short of refusing to listen to them? Love your show. You have a great voice, representation, seem to really share your own beliefs, which I admire. So thanks for not talking down to the audience, he says. I wish you continued success. Well, I can't talk down to anybody because I'm stupid. That's one. Two, these people never think they're going to be the ones touched by this. Their only concern is image, poll numbers, keeping their seats in the House or the Senate. And when you get some senator like John Cornyn, who participated in this stuff, when you get some senator stands up there and says, oh, we have to bring another 10,000 Afghans into the country. Well, he's only thinking about John Cornyn. He thinks that makes him look good. He thinks his donors will like it. At no point does he think anyone in his family is going to have to deal with some guy from Afghanistan shouting Allahu Akbar with a knife in his hands. He thinks that that might happen to you, but remember, that's not his concern. These people don't think about you. They don't care about you. You never cross their mind. Ever, ever. They worry only about themselves and their own power.
Shut up.
It is the Jesse Kelly Show, reminding you if you miss any part of the show, you can download it on iHeart, Spotify, iTunes. I know it has been a heavy show tonight.
It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving.
But we have to dig into some more heavy stuff. Remember yesterday we were talking about that guy who swallowed the Fabergé egg, the one with all the diamonds and stuff on it. And we were questioning what the plan was to get it back out. Got this email. Jesse, about that guy who swallowed the expensive egg. You think the value of the egg goes up or down? And immediately you would think to yourself, it goes down, right? Once it's been in someone's gullet, surely it goes down. But I'm not a jewelry expert. That's probably more Chris's area. But Chris, let me ask you something. If I could sell you a sword, a Napoleonic era sword, would the sword be worth more or less to you if you knew the sword had killed somebody? Chris said more. Me too. I think most people would say more. Certainly dudes would say more. I could actually see Ob saying no. I could see women saying, nah, I wouldn't want that. I would want that. And I want the blood still on it. One time, I think I've told you this, I went up to the Blaze's headquarters. I don't work for them, but I'm friends with everybody there. I love them. And I went up to go do this interview with Glenn Beck. And afterwards, Glenn is a history freak, just like me. Honestly, he probably exceeds me. History freak. He has all this cool stuff there. And he starts taking me through his private little history museum. I swear it's a museum. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And he has a piece of Abraham Lincoln's shirt collar or jacket collar, I forget which one it was, from the night he was shot by John Wilkes Booth in the theater. And it has the blood stain still on it. Now, I realize that's a little dark, a little morbid. That's freaking cool. Would that shirt collar be worth less? What, Chris? What? Chris says there's a big difference between blood and, all the things that are going to be on that egg now that it was in some guy's gullet. I would agree. And again, I'm going to have to defer to you on jewelry prices. But hear me out. If I have the kind of money where I can spend thousands of dollars on an egg, which is so dumb. But anyway, if I have the kind of money where you can afford thousands of dollars for an egg, wouldn't I want there to be a story attached to the egg? Because hear me out. Now, this is, I admit, not my world. I don't have paintings and jewelries and things like that. I know that I'm just white trash Jesse. I get that. But if I had one, I would want to display it, right? I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to want to display it because I want to show it off. Isn't that why you would buy something like that? You want to show it off. Well, if I want to show it off, don't I want a story to go with it? Now tell me what the better story is. And I don't know where these eggs came from. There are smart people listening. I'm sure I'll get all these emails. They're from Russia in the 1540s. I don't know where they come from, and I don't care. But I can present it to my guests when they come over to watch something. I can say, look at this Fabergé egg. It was from Russia in the 1540s. Or I can say, look at this Fabergé egg. It was from Russia in the 1540s. Some guy also stole this once and swallowed it, and they had to perform surgery and cut it out of his stomach. Now I have it. I think that's a better story. Am I wrong, Chris? Even Chris agrees with me, and he knows jewelry. Jesse, I think the conservatives need to remind everyone that the reason we have such high prices is the Inflation Reduction Act, passed with only Democrat votes. It should be repealed. His name is Lou. One, I gotta be honest with you, I've always thought the name Lou for a dude is one of the coolest names. I have no idea why. I just always thought it sounded cool. Lou. If your name's Lou, I automatically think you're probably cool. So that's one. Two, you're not necessarily wrong about the Inflation Reduction Act drastically increasing inflation. But if I could push back a little bit, Lou, I know this hurts, and we're going to move on and talk about other stuff. Democrats were not in charge when the United States of America decided to shut down its economy for a bad chest cold from China and then print $7 trillion while passing trillion-dollar bills that handed out stimulus checks to the American people. I don't need any more help to hate Democrats any more than I do. Let's not pretend like Republican hands are clean when it comes to spending money, printing money, and the reason inflation is out of control. It was Republicans in charge when the economy got shut down. And the reason I bring this up is not so we feel bad. In the future, there's going to be another virus. You know that, right? There always is. There's always another disease coming on the planet somewhere, from some way. We will get another one day. And when we get another one, we have to kill the idea now that you should ever shut your country down because there's a virus. That idea has to be killed now. So in the future, when we get one and the tyrants try to shut us down and take down your outdoor basketball hoops and shut your business and shut your school, we have to know that in the future, they won't try that again. And we have to know that because we killed the idea now. Now, let me ask you, I know there's a lot of people displeased with how this country operated during COVID, obviously myself included. They're mad about this aspect. They're mad about this aspect. They're mad about that aspect. But let me ask you, just genuinely asking, how many people do you know in your life they're mad about the very idea that you stop a country on purpose for a virus? I know they may be annoyed about their school, annoyed about their business, annoyed about a mask or a vaccine injury or whatever. I got that. How many have gone down to the root of the problem and gotten angry about that? That is what we need. You never, ever, 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 for any reason, stop your economy on purpose. There may be things that happen, wars, diseases, and whatnot, that most definitely stall or stop parts of it. That's just going to be part of it. For instance, during COVID, you know what would have been hurt undoubtedly? Undoubtedly, the movie theater industry. Because the second you start telling people there's a contagious virus out there, they might get sick, they might die, they're going to be more hesitant to do things like gather with 100 strangers in a movie and watch The Lord of the Rings. It's just going to be something they're more hesitant about. So the movie theater industry may stall, may stop. It probably will even. That's how it goes. But what you don't ever do for a day, let alone 15 days, you don't ever say, hey, shut all the movie theaters. I'm ordering you. That is bonkers. And that idea was widely accepted across the political spectrum in this country, that was a solution for a virus. Ridiculous. The Jesse Kelly Show, final segment of the Jesse Kelly Show on a Friday. We shall return on Monday for Medal of Honor Monday. And I know I've been teasing this, so I don't want to get your hopes up, but I've been promising you the next history story I do is going to be on the Rhodesian Bush War. The reason it has taken so long is I keep finding new things to read and new things to look into and new things to read and new things to look into. So it's been a while. I feel like, honestly, I felt like tonight I could have done it. I probably could have done it tonight. For some reason, I have a couple other things I want to look into, but I feel like tonight I could have done it. If next week is a slower news week, and it might be, I don't know, I'm going to try to do it next week. It's going to be a long one. At least 2 nights, if not 3 nights. I'll try to keep it to hour 2 of whatever show I do it on for everybody who hates history or not interested in it. Traditionally, the program we've gone with is when I do history, I take an hour, usually the second hour. So we do news stuff in the first hour, history, news stuff in the third hour. This is definitely going to be a 2-3 hour history thing. I think Chris, it's a long one. Well, there's the history of it and people don't know the area and there's so much context you have to provide and historical context. I am so into it. I think you're going to enjoy it. And I hope to bring that to you next week. I am kind of, in a way, I realize I can say whatever I want, talk about whatever I want. I could do it right now if I wanted. But I'm also a slave to the news cycle in some way. And I mean that in that people tune in at the end of the day, or if you listen to the podcast, iHeart, Spotify, iTunes, if you listen to the podcast, you kind of want to hear my take on whatever the big stories of the day are. So if that's your thing and you want to tune in and hear that, and then I'm talking about the Rhodesian Bush War and China, and believe me, communists are involved and communists will get killed. You'll really enjoy it. There's all kinds of stuff there. Maybe that's not what you're looking for. All right, so we'll wait. We'll see what happens next week, but I feel like I'm pretty much ready. Might have to cross the T's and dot the I's this weekend, but feel like I'm pretty much ready. And remember, you can email the show, jesse@jessekellyshow.com. Hey, White Robe, or Great White Hope, he says. The subject is, does your family listen to the show? I remember you saying your dad didn't really listen to the show. Yeah, Dad just wasn't into it. He was busy. He'd be out working on the ranch. He's pounding nails or something like that. Show? How'd he do? That was my dad. He says, God rest his soul. He probably thought you were dumb. Oh, he did. He told me that all the time. But do your sons and wife ever listen? I love your show. It's the sweet spot between Beavis and Butthead and Rush Limbaugh. That's not very... Don't agree with that, Chris. Do Ab and the kids watch the show? You know, life is funny. How it changes over time. And if you have kids or you've already had them, maybe they're grown and gone, you'll know what I mean. But if you have them, if you're young or you're thinking about having them, you'll realize this. There are all these different phases with kids. There's the baby phase. Chris and Corey are kind of in that phase now, baby, toddler phase. And it's so much different than even the 7-year-old phase, right? Which is so much different than the 11 or 12-year-old phase. And our oldest is 17, so we're kind of going through a lot of these phases. They get so busy after a while with sports and school activities and stuff that you don't do as much with them as you do when they're younger. And you don't realize that when they're younger because you do everything together, right? When Jewish producer Chris goes home today, I promise you his baby girl is going to be close to him until she goes to sleep. She just will. And it could be wonderful and it could be tiring. But then, like last night, the boys had sports, they had homework, and then they were going to screw off with their friends. When I got home, they came and gave me a hug and talked to me for a couple of seconds. I didn't see them again all night, not one time. And then they got up. My youngest had practice at 5 a.m. this morning. They got up and left. I didn't see them this morning. I haven't laid eyes on the kids one time today. It changes. It used to be they were home every night right after school, and Ob would make dinner, and they'd be around the house, and they would listen to the show while she was making dinner. They'd listen together. And they still do it on occasion, but now they're just gone. They're just gone. You know what my kids are doing tonight? They're going to a movie without us. And Ob and I were there when they were making plans, and we said, do you want us to go? We'll go. And they're like, nah, we're good. What, Chris? It's not well, that's what they said. Chris is being a jerk. You know what they told us? They told Ob and I that we laugh too loud during the previews at parts that aren't funny. It's just mean. It's just mean. But you know what I mean? They grow up and they move on. And it's fine, by the way. I'm not mad about it. I love watching them grow up. It's just times change. So they used to more than they do now. Jesse, with a heavy heart, I write to you to see if you and your audience can help me by praying for me. There is a suspicion of me having a brain tumor. More studies required. I'm 38 years old, and my wife is expecting my first baby boy in 3 months. Please, thoughts and prayers are more than welcome. He did not say I can use his name, so we will not do that. But if you would not mind, please say a prayer for this young man who is probably scared. I am sure his young wife is scared. Say a prayer for this family, please. Prayer does work, all right? Does work. Jesse, don't ever let anybody tell you you're not DEI friendly. Look at how quickly your Jasmine Crockett soundbite quickly buried your Nancy Pelosi and James Carville bites. His name is Seth. That's not true. You're talking about this
People
one.
be texting.
People do be texting. Maybe you forgot about that. Maybe you should give me some credit.
In the name of a just, merciful God.
And when in doubt,
Shut up.
you go enjoy your weekend. That's all.